Hello and welcome to the DC Stewart Show Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Stewart, along with my kinfolk, Isaiah. My other kinfolk, Najee, he's away on assignment, so he was not able to join us tonight. But however, me and Isaiah, we would actually cover the NBA draft today, which it starts right now in Brooklyn, New York. Um, this is actually my first NBA draft, fully looking at it because I always watch the NFL draft, so a little bit more inclined into the NFL than I am the NBA. But we have to start somewhere. So we're glad to have you aboard as the viewer. We appreciate you. We appreciate your comments, and we appreciate everything done for us because at the end of the day, you is what matter to us. You, the viewer, is what matter to us. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to us on YouTube because our community is growing on YouTube, and we're ecstatic about it. We have over 150,000 views, and we're just loving what we're doing. We're happy, and we'll keep bringing you the best content that we have available, real time content as well as content that we have current events. So this NBA draft should be exciting because the first and second picks are kind of like, a lot of mock drafts have covered those picks. So, the most of the people who are looking at this draft kind of got an idea that Cooper Flagg is going to be number one, but that remains to be seen because Dallas is currently on the clock. I want to take a few seconds and actually have a moment of silence for Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. He means the world to us over at this show. I've been covering Deion since the 80s. Isaiah has been covering Deion since the 80s,
Yeah.
and we hope he can get well soon because he means a lot to the college football world as well as his family and as well as to people like us because we appreciate what he's doing, for the community and for young men and making them into responsible young men. So in the meantime, I want to introduce you my co-host, the one and only, and the kinfolk, Isaiah. Talk to me, Isaiah. What's going on?
Hey man, what a magnificent night this is. The night to see these guys who play in college football, I mean basketball, and to catapult over to professional, man. This is just something that these kids work from the moment they, start into grade school and their dreams and aspirations start to, flourishing and to come true. And this is a big stage, man. Whenever you think a kid grow up playing on the streets and playing on the playground and their parents putting all this time in, taking them to these camps, every year and to endure all the harsh seasons and now all of it is coming true. All the dreams are coming true. So man, I'm just lucky to be here covering this thing tonight with my partner and I've been knowing you forever and to
Absolutely.
see, this from tonight and I just feel grateful to be able to spend this moment tonight to watch these guys become millionaires because that's exactly what's getting ready to happen. You up, threading on thin ice, and now you're a millionaire. So this is the beautiful times for all these kids to see their dreams come true. Yeah,
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better because if you think about it, you have an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old who are going to be instant millionaires within the next few minutes. I mean, just think about that. How it's hard for me to even conceive thinking about absorbing something like that. That look, last night I went to sleep. Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper, they're set anyway. I mean, you look at these guys'
yeah,
NIL contracts, there's nothing even
hmm,
close to them. So they're already multimillionaires. They're already
yeah.
rich,
That's
but
one aspect of it.
it's going to come to fruition tonight of their lifelong dreams. And their lifelong dreams is what really matters to these young men. They prepare for this from early childhood. Some of them, I'm not saying all of them, but from early childhood, they prepare for this. Their parents prep them for this. Their parents set them on the right course and on the right track toward getting to this point in time. And I'm really happy for these young men that's going to be drafted tonight. Cooper Flagg,
Yeah.
he'll make history tonight because he's just one of the many great Duke players to go number one. I mean, there's been Duke
Mhm.
players in the past that have went number one. But from what I've observed from Cooper Flagg and what makes him unique to me from all of the other candidates that I've actually seen or draftees, should I say, Cooper Flagg is just so freaking athletic. I mean, he is athletic to the point where, I
Yeah.
mean, the guy is just on the sky constantly. I mean, he's going to the basket, he's imposing his will, he's driving in, he's dunking constantly, but don't get it twisted because he could shoot from the outside. So for Dallas to
Yeah.
be able to take him in and develop him into an all-star power forward, which he's going to be. He can play forward or power forward, either one. Actually, he's 6'9", and I think even in some instances they could put him into the rotation where he could play center if Jason Kidd wants a small, you know, he wants a small team on the floor, more of a quicker team.
Yeah.
He could actually set
Hmm.
that up where Cooper Flagg can play center, and while Anthony Davis, God hope he comes back because with his health been the way it is over the last few years, Cooper Flagg is going to be a perfect fit for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Dallas Mavericks, a couple of months ago, they got rid of Luka, and that really sent the city of Dallas and all of the Dallas faithful into a tailspin because nobody ever conceived that that was going to happen. Where Luka, which was a hometown hero, a favorite technically, he was a fan favorite most of all, and then for that to happen where Anthony Davis gets swapped out for Luca, it's just still to me to this day kind of like I was shocked, and I'm still somewhat shocked. So Isaiah, help me understand because I know Cooper Flagg has been a superstar since he's been in high school. I mean, he was a 5-star blue chipper in high school. He got to Duke and he just took it to the next level. And going into this, I'm going to name off a few greats that came out of Duke. But what do you think? What do you think
Hmm.
Cooper Flagg's success is going to hinge on with the Dallas Mavericks?
Well, I tell you, man, I spoke about this earlier, how these guys put that time in, man. Whenever you become that good, you start out as a 6 or 7 year old guy, a kid rather, at that point where you're going to the neighborhood playground and your parents support you and you going in these little camps every year. And then all of a sudden, man, you start to develop all of these intangibles from different camps as a little child. And
Mm-hmm.
then boom, you start to get that 13, 14, 15 years old when you start going through puberty, you start growing hairs under your arms, and all of this
True.
talent
That's
just
very true.
freaking just embodies inside of you, man. And then there it is. You become a professional, and that's what it is, man. That's why you somehow think that, oh wow, this guy is just coming out of high school. He's able to play professional basketball or football. Of course, yeah, because they've been doing it all their life. When you think
Exactly.
about a kid that's 7 years old and now he's 19, you're talking about a kid who's been doing it somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 years old, where you're doing the same thing every day. You're doing the same, you're dribbling the ball, you're taking it out, you're spending these times where your mom really wants you to come in and do your homework. You go in there and do your homework, and you go right back out there to the playground and you start sharpening up your skills. So when you get 19, 20 years old, you actually are a professional. So this is what's going to happen with this kid, man. He's getting ready to get drafted high, and like you say, he's coming out of Duke, and Duke has always had good players because Duke is a basketball school. I mean, I love their
Absolutely.
football stuff too, but it's really chained in on basketball. So I guess he just got picked. DC,
He
they
had
just
just
picked
got
him. Evan
Dallas
Silver
just
just picked him.
selected
So
Cooper Flag, which
yeah, yeah,
when Dallas won the lottery, I
yeah,
I
man.
said all along
I
Cooper
knew he was
Flag
gonna
was
get
going to
him.
be
Of
the
course,
pick
man.
for them.
Boy, oh boy, this is what
It's awesome.
kids dream of, man.
This is
The
awesome.
first round, you just sign that dotted line, and boom, instant millionaire. It's one thing to get the NIL contracts too when you're in college, but it's nothing like getting a college from a sports team, because then you solidified all the time that you were growing up, and you put that time in, and now you're a professional. See, the NIL contract, you still actually a rookie. You're not just a rookie. You're not you are amateur.
Right.
Now you're a professional. You got all the money, the accolades, and the professionalism drop right in your lap in this one night. And so, man, I'm proud of this kid, man.
I am
Now we're
too.
gonna see how Dallas build on this team now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now he's walking to the podium to speak now.
You got to give his parents a lot of credit. I mean, a lot of times the
Yeah, of
parents are
course.
left
Of
out,
course.
but you got to take your hat off for his mom and his dad and their support for him constantly on up to where he is now. He has them to thank for everything from the position that he's in now because if it wasn't for his parents, he who knows where he would be. He could be somewhere
Well,
in a good place, but to be the first
that's your
pick in
number
the
one support
NBA,
system. That's your
yeah,
number one support system with your
exactly.
parents. I mean, no matter what, that's your number one support system. And not only that, I'm just judging when I was a kid and I used to play sports, football and track and all that. Man, it was nothing like when you see your parents in the stands watching you and cheering you on. Man, that's so gratifying for you to have that support system from your parents, no matter how good your friends and your other folks and your colleagues and your teammates glorify you when you playing well, but to see your parents loving and enjoying what you're doing and knowing that it all started from them, that's the
Yeah.
most gratifying part of it. And to share all of this stuff with your parents once you become, a professional.
Oh yeah. This is a special moment because he was sitting at the table with his parents. I know his heart was beating because there's never any guarantee that you will be the first pick, although most people,
Yeah,
99.9%, knew he was going to be the first pick. But it is that
yeah,
butterfly in your stomach, and he's actually speaking with his family now. He's got a beautiful family
hmm
up on the stage.
yeah,
And that 99.9%, but that half a percent or a percent that could be different because I know in NFL it's a little bit more trickier than the NBA, generally speaking. Because
yeah,
I don't have
hmm
a very detailed background like Najee does with the NBA. However, I do know with the NFL, it's like a seesaw. Like who knows? We thought
Oh yeah, of
Travis Hunter
course it
was going
is.
to go first, but it
Yeah,
ended up being
hmm
Cam Ward, or we thought
yeah,
Shador Sanders was going to be second or first, second, and third pick, and it ended up
yeah.
being
But that's
Cam
just
Ward or
another
Travis
story when it
Hunter.
comes
You
to
know,
yeah.
and
When it comes to
well,
the Sanders brother, that was a whole different another thing. That
yeah,
just was an unorthodox draft that year. This year, it was
exactly.
just an unorthodox draft.
So, Isaiah, I think this saved Nico Harrison's job because Nico Harrison they were hanging him out to dry, man, because of that trade that Luca ended up
Oh
leaving.
man,
And the
yeah,
fans just didn't have any kind of understanding of that to the sense that why would you get rid of the star of the team? And I'm not taking any credit away from Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis has been a dominant player for so long in the NBA, but it just to me, it just seemed to me to be a very odd swap because technically both teams swapped. However, I think the Lakers got the best of it. You said in the past shows that the Lakers got
yeah,
the best of that trade. And
yeah,
Dallas was kind of left hanging, and then Kyrie got injured. So once Kyrie got injured, it even made it look worse or even worse, sir, because think about it. I mean, now
yeah,
who are you going to go to? I mean, Jason Kidd can coach, but he has to have the talent to coach, right? So if Anthony
yeah.
Davis and
Cool.
Kyrie is injured, you got to have someone that's going to be solid that you can have in there, and that's where Cooper Flagg he's gonna slot right in. I see
He's
him
gonna
as
fill that void.
I see him as
He's
the
definitely
first.
gonna fill that void. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I see him as the first
Looking
name
hindsight
starter
on this
starting
DC.
next season.
Yeah, yeah, but looking hindsight on this DC, it could have all been a strategic move for them to do this, man. Because look at what happened. Look at who they just picked up. Every little puzzle or piece of that puzzle has been filled right now.
Right.
We thought the Lakers got the best of that deal, but now if they plug Cooper Flagg in there and he do exactly what he was doing in college, it's going to look like a genius move from the head coach in the organization and the
For
GM.
sure.
It's going to look like a freaking genius move.
It
So
will
we'll see
because
how this thing, come to fruition during the season next year with this beautiful pick they just embarked on.
like I just
Yeah.
said, it takes a lot of pressure off of Nico Harrison.
Yeah,
Because like
of
I
course
said,
it
Nico
does.
Harrison, man, they wanted his high. They wanted his hide. They wanted to hang him out and string him up, basically. And now it looks much better for the franchise because now they got this young phenom that's going to come in,
Hmm.
immediately contribute. I mean, he's not going to be sitting on a bench waiting to contribute. He's going to be immediately he'll be able to contribute to the team. And when Kyrie Irving comes back and when Anthony Davis comes back, they'll be able to put a very formidable team on the floor. So let me go over some of Cooper Flagg's stats here. It looks like
Let's do it.
he averaged 19 points a game, 7 rebounds, a little bit, let's just say 8 rebounds a game because it's got him at 7.5. He averages 4 assists per game, 1.4 steal, and 1.4 blocks. Shot 39% from the 3 point line on 135 attempts. And but here's what's crazy. He led Duke in all five statistical
Categories, yeah.
categories. No freshman has
Hmm.
done that since the stat was tracked. So that puts him in another bracket all alone.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
it's
of
really
course. Yes.
it's really important that we actually put that out there for people to see because he's unique and it looks like the second pick is in and it looks like San Antonio
Dalen
as
Harper.
predicted picked
Pick up
Dylan
Dalen
Harper
Harper.
out of Rutgers.
Yeah.
He's a guard
Hmm.
and Dylan Harper is going to be an instant contributor to San Antonio along with Wemby. I think San Antonio has a young team and it's gonna take them a little bit of time. Looks like Greg Popovich, Pop, he's no longer coaching the team. He's going into the front office, but they will be able to put a competitive team on the floor with Dylan Harper. So the first two picks, Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper, was actually in all of the mock drafts coming out up until this
Yeah.
point in time. So my thing is, a lot of these players now are interchangeable too. In other words, what I mean by interchangeable, Cooper Flagg can play multiple positions.
Several
I'm
positions. Yeah.
sure Dylan Harper is going to be able to. They're going to be able to rotate him around as well because he kind of reminds me of kind of like he's fast. He can get up court. You can compare him to
He
some of the
passes
best shooting
well. Yeah.
guards in the NBA right now.
Hmm.
If you think
Yep.
about that, so it's going to be really crucial for San Antonio for the franchise's survival to have a young stud of a guard like Dylan Harper coming in, and that's just the ultimate right there. Um, um, you know, and it looks like here. Um, let's talk a little bit about the Portland Trail Blazers because it looks like the Portland Trail Blazers is
He's up
probably going
next.
to take Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey is a
Mhm.
guard out of Rutgers. Well, he's a forward. I'll take that back. He's a forward out of Rutgers. He's an explosive scorer, 18.5 points a game. So for Ace Bailey to be able to come up and be able to go to Portland Trailblazers, that's going to be really really important for Portland. Now Portland just ended up receiving Drew Holiday through a trade from Boston. So Portland's got a young fast team too, and they're going to be competitive in the West, but so many good teams out there. You tell me, Isaiah, the NBA is just so many really talented teams with a talent level that's on the floor
Yeah.
with these teams. Like
Yeah.
30 years ago, when we were, in the 80s and the 90s, you had one player or two players, and that was it.
Yeah.
These were floor general players. I'll mention the Magic Johnsons, and I'll mention, the Allen Iversons, and Isaiah Thomason. But now you look at some of these teams and who they lining up on the floor. You got three or four guys that could really stick in
You
there.
actually got to have at least three guys to be competitive. You got to
Yep.
have three superstars on your team to be competitive. If you have two, you're not even making it to the playoffs. That's how good these players are right now, man. And and,
Exactly.
and, and not only that, even if you got a crappy team, you could turn around a team in a matter of one night's trade. You could
Yes.
trade for a couple of people, and your team could be 500, and all of and turn around and you can make it to the playoff and perhaps go win a championships over a night of trading. So it just goes to prove how talented these kids are. They're so enormously talented where they can play so many positions. I've never seen that, years ago where, a player would get drafted and that's all he would play is that one position. If he's a guard, he's just going to play guard. And back in the day, they might trade off a forward for a center every now and then, but that was it, man. But these guys can play three or four positions, man. If somebody goes down, you just slide him right in there, and he can play that position. So it's cool to see all of this movement around, man, and I love it. I just love it
I
to
do
death,
too.
man, to see how talented these guys are, man. And they getting compensated for it too, though.
Oh,
You
for
know,
sure. It was alleged that Cooper Flagg is probably going to get something in the range of $63 million for a rookie, and that's going to
woo,
set a new precedent as well. Because if you think
love it,
about most
man.
rookie
Love to see
contracts,
these kids get paid.
yeah, I believe that most rookies in the NBA generally start somewhere around 12, 13, $14 million. But if this kid's going to come in and he's going to be able to command that type of contract, I mean, that sets a new precedent as well, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I love it, man, because it was always this thing where the owners was making all this money, the franchise was making all this money, but now these kids are getting paid, man. It's just
yeah,
one contract to set you up generations, man, and I love it. I love to see that. Just not one group of people stacking in the dough. Now these players are getting compensated the way they should be, with
yeah,
endorsements along with their salary.
and as
Yep.
the NBA grows and gets bigger contracts and they keep expanding around the world, these contracts are only going to mushroom, get bigger and
Get bigger.
bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. I
Yep.
mean, especially with veterans and the market value of a veteran that's been in the league for 5 or 6 years, and they want a max contract and they'll be able to meet some of the criteria for a total max contract. Somebody's going to give them the money. Somebody is going to give them the bag.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to get the
Yeah.
bag
Yeah.
because that's going to be the
Mhm.
going rate. I mean, think about it. So looking at
DC, it's just like when we were talking about Durant leaving the other day, going over to Houston. People was thinking Durant is got his feet on a banana peel, getting ready to slip out the league, and all of a sudden, here it is. He bounced around, he came down with the Heat, and I just swore Pat Riley was going to secure that, position for him to come here. But all of a sudden, he went over to Houston, and Houston gave him exactly what he wanted. So, man, that goes to prove what you're saying holds true. Somebody's going to pay him. Somebody's going to hire him. Somebody's going to put him on their organization because they got a position for him. They got a scheme for him to fit in. So I just felt bad that we couldn't get him because we've been trying to get him for several times. We missed out on getting Durant to bring him down to Miami.
So tell me this, Isaiah. Do you think Miami's going to be able to pick up a good player tonight in the draft if they actually draft? I don't know what draft position the Heat is in, but do you think
Man,
they'll
we
be
we
able to
surely
pick up
need
some
some
talent?
good players to kick this thing off again, man. Our team has been on a slump, so we really need some new energy here in Miami, man. I mean, lose Butler last year, and it was a little sour moment for us, and then he went out to LA, and we need to get some new blood in there, and we need to bring somebody in there who's really exciting to bring the city back because when Wade and Bosh and Shaq then was here. It was on fire down in South Florida. So I need bro, our organization to do something similar to bring some exciting player that's going to be here for a while, not just pop in for a couple of years and want to go out to LA to be in movies. So
Like
I
Jimmy
hope they're
Butler,
working
huh?
on it, man. Yes. Yep. He got a taste of that movie thing and then he started acting up.
So it looks like the
Yep.
Philadelphia 76ers just picked DJ Edgecombe. I was under the assumption that Ace Bailey, because a lot of mock drafts had Ace Bailey going at number 3. But that goes back to what we just talked about a few minutes ago. That look, it's a seesaw
Yeah.
type of thing, and teams they
Yes.
they they
You
make
never
moves
know
up
what it's
until
going
the
to
last
fall.
second. I mean, it depends on
Hmm.
if a team is really solidly made up their mind, they know who they're going to pick, that their card is going to come in. Their draft card is going to be come in, and they're going to be able to pick who they want. But then you have these guys on wheeling and dealing, and they're wheeling and dealing all the way up to the last second of their clock time to try to pick
Yes.
the type of player that they want, or to fill a need on their team. That you know, look, Ace Bailey, he's still on the board, and it looks like Edge come right off the board. So that goes to show you that all mock drafts is just more of a kind of a it's a predictability, but it's not a predictability where certain people predict certain things, and it just doesn't always work out that way. I think
Yeah.
what happened with uh, what happened with this third pick is I want to say Philadelphia traded up because it looks like here uh, it was looking like Portland was going to be picking number three. So it looks like the next pick up on the clock right now is going to be the Charlotte Hornets. And I'm actually watching it on flat screen TV right now.
Yeah, yeah. Charlotte got a lot of work to do over there too.
They do.
They in
They
their
do.
rebuilding stage too, man. They just like the Miami Heat. They got a lot of work to do, man. To turn their team around as well. They got to put a lot of pieces in that puzzle. Yeah.
They do. I mean, it's just the biggest thing is putting the pieces of the puzzle together can be the most challenging piece of it because you might think something may work or a player may be an excellent fit, and sometimes that doesn't always unfold like that. Um,
Hmm.
I could think back to some of the flops, or should I say, some of the busts that became number one picks in the
Yeah.
NBA as well as the
I
NFL,
get
but we're
that.
talking about the
Yeah.
NBA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
that can
unfortunate when you see a player play so good in college and then all of a sudden, they reach the professional and then they don't turn out. But you know what? That happens because it's certain reasons why that happened, DC. You can get a player who play in college in a certain way and then they change the scheme of his talent level and they don't put them in the right positions and then they don't flourish. It ain't all about the player not being able to make it. It's that scheme of how you coach that kid to make
That's
them
right.
flourish. You put them in the right position and they might pan out. But if you put them in a terrible position, they may not work out. I mean,
That's true.
just think about a good quarterback, for instance. You get a quarterback that's a drop back passer, and all of a sudden you got plays where it's designed for the running back and the tight end and to do little hitch passes. You don't get the best out of that quarterback. So
Hmm.
that's the same thing happening in basketball. You got to put them in the right positions to make them flourish and
That's
grow
true.
as a professional.
And a lot of that you are so true because a lot of that is based on the stability of the franchise, the general manager, how they go about handling their business, and then the coach. I mean, it comes out. You look
Yeah.
at. I mean, look at
Yeah.
Jason Kidd, what he's inherited
Hmm.
at
Yeah.
Dallas. I mean, Jason Kidd is going to
Yeah.
be able to coach that kid, and he's going to be able to coach the rest of those players. And Jason Kidd's name actually surfaced for that New York job, but Dallas immediately shut it down. Look, you're not gonna get Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's not leaving Dallas to go to New York. And that name came up. Now another name with New York is surfaced is Mark Jackson. And think about Mark Jackson, what he possibly
I
could
just don't understand that with Mark
He's been
Jackson, man.
passed over and passed
I
over and
really
passed
don't
over.
understand that. He was a phenomenal coach, and all of a sudden, he get pushed out and nobody pick him up. I've never seen that before, man. Usually, when a good coach like that leaves, before the night is out, he has another job. Just think about when Doc Rivers, you and I and Najee talked about this thing with Doc Rivers. Every time Doc Rivers gets fired, before the night is out, he's got another job. So I couldn't understand that thing with Mark, man. Mark
Yeah,
Jackson.
yeah, and Mark Jackson has really turned a lot of franchises around. He turned Golden State around, and then Steve Kerr
Yep,
came in and took
absolutely.
it to the next level,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, Steve Kerr
Yep,
is
yep.
a damn good coach, but what he did is he just
But
parlayed
he
on that
inherited
already
a
talented
dynasty.
team and
Yes, it was
took that to
already
the
built.
next
All he had to
level.
do was maintain it.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I think if Mark Jackson would have stayed, I think Golden State would have won at least one championship. I couldn't guarantee beyond that because he had the talent to win multiple championships, but it looks as though he got cut short. And for whatever reason, the owner wanted to cut him short, which I thought was very unfair at the
Mhm.
time because I think if you got
Yeah, Charlotte
a
is up
guy
now.
that builds a franchise into a very good team like Mark Jackson did, and then you cut him short,
Mhm.
I just think that's very
Yeah,
unfair. But life is not fair in a lot of cases. So
yeah,
if you look at a lot of players and first picks, and I just pulled up a list of first picks that were considered busts. The main name that stuck out to me was Greg Oden. I don't know whether you remember Greg Oden. Greg Oden played at
yeah,
Ohio State.
yeah. Of course they do, man.
Super,
No.
super talented guy. I mean, super
Yeah,
talented player. If you watched him in college, you was just gonna be you was just guaranteed to
mesmerized.
know that he was definitely gonna make
Yes.
it in the NBA. And then he just didn't measure up. He didn't pan out at the NBA level for whatever reason because there's no guarantee that if you play through high school into college that you're gonna make it at that
Yeah.
level. And that's all
You know,
college
one thing
sports.
about him, DC, he had endured several injuries, and then he wouldn't maintain his weight. His
He
weight was
did. He got
fluctuating, man.
heavy.
He
He
got
got
big as a
heavy,
house,
right?
man. Yes, he was. He was huge, man. I mean, he looked like he was just eating a dozen biscuits every morning because he just blew up like a helium balloon, man. And then all of a sudden he started, enduring a bunch of injuries. And next thing you know, boom, he's out of the league, man. But,
Yeah.
they were at least patient with him because he was so talented in college. So he bounced around to a couple teams before finally they got rid of him and nobody, didn't want him anymore because they seen he just not panning out. But bro, he was amazing in college. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes, he
he's one
did.
of those busts you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like it's been a list of them. Purvis Ellison was another one. You remember Never Nervous Purvis? Never Nervous Purvis Ellison
Mm.
came out of University of Kentucky. Super damn good player at Kentucky. He got to Sacramento. His injuries and a lot of the inconsistencies surfaced, and he was another one that didn't make it to. He didn't do as well in the NBA as most experts had predicted he would do. He had the height to be the best he could be, but he just didn't get there, and that's what happens at the professional level. The ones you don't think is going to make it, they make it. They come in and they
Yeah.
they do things and they
Charlotte
step up
just
to the
picked.
plate, because they
Yeah.
hungry. Maybe they hungrier, right? I mean, if you think about
Yeah.
it,
You gotta be,
think
man.
about a player that didn't even get drafted. Like for example, I'm going to go back to the NFL, even though we're talking about NBA. So look at Prime's son, Coach Prime. You know, you look
Yeah.
at Shiloh Sanders. I mean, Shiloh, he's
Yeah.
got a chip on his shoulder. And a lot of young
Yeah.
players like that. They have chips on their shoulder. Look, you didn't take me. You left me. You left me. You didn't
Well,
take me.
that's
So I got to
that's
prove you wrong.
something. Yeah, but that's another story. DC, he was, it's one thing to not have the talent to be drafted. He actually had the talent to be drafted, and from what I could see right now, he's just showing his rear end in camp, and that's what he's got to do, man. Because one thing about it, if you have a team that went out their way to pick you up, even though you didn't get drafted, and they give you the opportunity, you really got to put out, man. You really got to put out because ultimately, if you get cut, somebody else will see that, wow, we can't use him, but another team can get him because they realize that he's good enough to play professional football. So I think he's going to work out, man. I really do because I watched him play from the moment he got into, Jackson State, and I watch how aggressive he is. He played Dion's position, but Dion wouldn't hit you. But Shaq would knock the crap out of you,
Oh,
man.
Shiloh bring the
I've seen
heat.
him come up and
He
strike
bring the
you.
heat. He bring the heat.
Once he gonna jump on your back or something, but Shallow would throw them shoulders and that head into you, man. He'll bring fire with fire.
Yes.
Yep.
And a lot of players they use leverage. They use their body weight and their leverage to get an upper hand on an opponent when it comes to any type of sport. If you can leverage yourself in a way where you can keep that opponent at a disadvantage, and that goes for basketball too. Because if you think
Of
about
course it
a lot of
is.
the players
Very smart.
when they're playing in the paint, especially, I mean, they're trying to gain position like a center or a forward, and
Hmm.
they basically just positioning themselves to be able to overtake the opponent, the defender, of course, and that's
Yeah.
the thing about it.
Hmm.
It looks as though Charlotte just took a Duke guard, I believe. Let's see, his
Yeah.
name is Con Tipple, and I hope I pronounced his name right because I hate pronouncing, folks' names wrong.
The Heat's coming up now. The Heat's got number 20.
Yeah. So right now it looks as though Utah is on the clock, right? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Utah is on the clock right now.
Yeah, it looks like Utah is on the clock, and basically, let's go here because I'm looking at some of the numbers from some of these players,
Still.
these first five picks. So really, the top 10 picks is kind of like falling in order, with the exception of one or two. You know, with the exception of one or two players, it wasn't mock draft in the position they're in. I still want to say Ace Bailey. It looks like he's the best on the board right now, number one. And Trey Johnson, who's a guard out of Texas, according to this, is they're the best players on the board if a team has those needs to take, and then you got another French player. I'm looking here, Noah Esting. Looks like France is just kicking them out, man. They doling out good players out of France because France
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Basketball has become international, man.
it is super
They
super
getting good
big.
players from all over the
And
world that's
France,
coming in now.
yep,
Yeah.
France and Japan and China and places like that, even
Hmm.
Taiwan, because
Yep.
I was telling you, Dwight Howard played professional basketball in Taiwan before he came
Yeah.
here. I think he's in the Big Three league right now. So Ace Bailey, they just panning to him. He's still sitting and waiting, and he should be off the board, I would think, in the next few picks, if not this pick right now, because it looks like Utah is on the clock right now at the number five pick. Utah is smart. They will probably go with him since he's the best player on the board. I think what has happened in college sports, especially with NIL now, this thing is really getting ready to get interesting to me because if you look, the schools now are going to be paying the players. The first initial NIL arrangement was the players could negotiate contracts with, marketers and people who actually wanted them to promote their products. But now these players, according to Congress, and Congress just approved the particular legislation to allow the schools to pay the players. What do you think about that?
Long time. They should have done this 50 years ago, man. You know, some of these kids can barely eat, outside of, eating lunch for if you got a full ride scholarship.
Hmm.
I remember when I was in college, my parents had to shuffle money to me all the time. And for
Absolutely.
you to be out there getting bruised and bumped up for a school and you don't get anything for it, and these guys making billions of dollars every year, it's worthy of it. I was so pleased when that NIL stuff started swinging around here because you can't even take your girlfriend out to the movies or on a date when
Oh,
you're in
it's
college
wrong.
because yeah. So that's why I'm loving it, man. I mean, it was, some of these coaches don't like it because they want the kids to remain broke, especially when
Yep.
you only coach out of fear. And some of these coaches coach out of fear, it's claiming, oh, you don't do this on a bench, you ain't gonna go to professional. Man, get out of here.
Yeah.
But
Well, they
these
can't. A
kids are
lot of
getting
coaches
paid
can't
now.
use that
They're
leverage
getting
anymore.
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what has
So,
happened
so this is
is,
second kid that gotten drafted
yeah, it
from
looks like
Rutgers
Ace
now.
Bailey just got drafted by
They just
Utah.
got picked.
And this,
Yeah.
this is a great pick for
Yeah.
Utah, I think, because he's going to bring
Yeah.
that much needed guard play to Utah, make
Man.
them be able to. I mean, because Utah over the years, if you notice that they've traded a lot of their good players off. I mean,
Yeah, they're
Donovan
just
Mitchell was
rocking
the
that
last
jacket.
player that I knew played at Utah. And if you think
Mhm.
about it, Donovan Mitchell, he was able to work his way out of there and get to Cleveland, which Cleveland is a top notch competitor in the East now. Utah has got to really kind
Yeah.
of step up and step up their roster because and having a kid like Ace Bailey will be able to help them with that. Now, I
He's
don't
a
think
banger
Denver
too, man.
absolutely. And
He's
you
a
know,
banger,
thinking back
man.
to the time that Carl Malone and John Stockton and Thurl Bailey and all those guys were at
Yeah.
Utah, you know, and they were playing, you know, they were playing top notch basketball back then,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, those guys was rugged, man. They used to bang it in there, and Karl Malone come around with those elbows, and he'll knock your teeth out, man. Because he was going for broke when he came to the hole.
Oh, for sure. Karl Malone was like a runaway freight train. He would go into the paint. It was like you better either if you were thinking about taking a charge from him, I would tell you to rethink it because you're gonna
Yeah,
stand there, he's gonna run you over. I mean, you're just gonna get flattened, and that's just how Karl Malone handled his business back then. You know, and
yeah,
Utah, they Jerry Sloan was their coach, man. He was a hard nosed, rugged coach, so you know they had a hard nosed, rugged team back then. So I think this is a good pick for the Utah Jazz.
yeah.
So
It's a
it looks
great
like
pick.
the Washington
Yeah,
Wizards is up next.
is up next. Yeah,
And Washington's got some work to do as well because Washington, they never really that team is just they've had some good players. The most notable player I know that played at Washington was Gilbert Arenas. And
oh
you know,
yeah,
I watch Gilbert Arenas' podcast, by the way. I think he has an excellent podcast.
yeah,
That guy, I mean,
yeah.
Gilbert has got a really good crew of guys over there, and they talk about some really, they get
Mhm.
hard on topics over at Gil's Arena, and I actually subscribe to them, so I'm constantly watching Gilbert Arenas. But the Washington
Yeah,
Wizards, they have never really kind of powered their way into a position where they can be super dominant like a lot of other teams out of the East, and that takes a lot of. It's just I mean, you have to throw the dice. It's
yeah.
pitching
Well,
dice.
people don't know how difficult it is to win, DC.
It is
You know, it's
very difficult
difficult,
to win
man.
at that level.
People don't realize you got to have so many things working together in a sport where it's a team sport. Everything has to come together for you to win, man. You got to have a great organization. Everybody got to be on the same accord. You got to have that championship mentality. If you don't have that, man, it's just not going to work out. You know,
Yeah,
it's got to start from the top too. You can't have a guy on the top and he's not relentless with winning. If you just got a guy who just think, oh, we're going to go about our day to day, man, you could just bank on you not getting ready to win anything. You need a guy who's waking up and going to bed with this mentality of we gonna win. We got to be doing something right. We always got to be looking positive. We always got to be working at it, trying to get better.
exactly.
And if you don't do that, it ain't gonna work out, man. I've seen it. I've been on teams like that. I've been involved with programs where you had the guy on the top, he would go all out. I mean, it was nothing that he wouldn't do to get better. So you have to have that mentality if you want to win. So if you got a guy on the top who's not all in, you better clip him and get somebody that's going to do it because that's the only way you're going to get better and ultimately win a championship.
Yeah, I mean you're absolutely right. And looking at some other players, because I just pulled up Washington, some of the past players for Washington. The next most notable is Moses Malone, and most people don't, the younger generation don't know much about Moses Malone, but before Moses Malone got to
Hmm.
Philadelphia, he played for Washington, and Moses Malone
Yeah.
was dominant just from the get go. I mean, even when he was with
Oh
the Wizards.
man, he was massive.
Yeah,
He was
he
massive,
was one of the
man.
most dominant centers in basketball back then because the way he handled Kareem in several of those finals
Yeah.
back then when Dr.
Yeah.
J was on that Philadelphia team and Daryl Dawkins and
Yeah.
Lionel
Yeah.
Hollins and those guys had a really good squad. Another one here of late is Juwan Howard. I mean, Juwan Howard played for the Wizards. Bradley Beal played for the Wizards at one time. It's quite a few
Yeah,
players.
but they always will put together, one or two superstars, and one or two superstars not going to do anything. You can still be 500 with one or two superstars. You really have to have three or four good players. You got to have really three or four good superstars on a team to
Yeah,
be really good, man. You got to have these supporting cast. Your bench got to be great too. But if you don't have at least three superstars, just bank on not going to the playoff, and you'll be watching the postseason with other teams playing. You're not
Right.
going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere. And that's why they have to utilize a delicate balance of going through free agency and going to the draft. Now, a lot of teams they tend to not balance it out properly in the sense that some teams just rely heavily upon the draft. Some other teams rely heavily upon free agency. But you have to have that delicate
Hmm.
balance, especially nowadays, because in any professional sport where it's a team sport and you have, let's just say, more than two players on a team, you have to have that balance. You just can't, you know, think that one is going to work better than the other. You have to be able to balance that out. And you know who another person
Yeah.
was really good at that? We'll shift over to football was Bobby Beathard. I don't know whether you remember Bobby Beathard used to be the general manager at the Washington at that time Redskins. Now they're Washington Commanders.
Hmm.
But Bobby Beathard, he was one of the best in the business with getting free agents, being able to draft, and it's just amazing what those teams were able to do back then. Looks
Yeah.
like Trey Johnson out of Texas has just been drafted by Washington. I think he'll be a good addition to Washington as well. Because once these guards, you get these guards, drafting a good guard is like drafting to me a quarterback. I
The
kind of look at
quarterback.
it as two
Having a
better.
good quarterback.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, a guard, some of the guard's responsibilities is to be the court general. You got to be
Of
that.
course it
You got to
is.
be able to
Yeah.
see things. You got to be able to have a bigger
Hmm.
vision to be
Yep.
able to run a team on the floor. And we talked
Yep.
about some of the greats off of Najee's list last week, where you've
Yeah.
got the Magic Johnsons and the Isaiah Thomases and the Jason Kidds, and I can name a few other ones, Allen Iverson. Those guys were
Yeah.
like, to me, court generals, quarterbacks in a way. That's what
Yep.
I'll
Yeah.
equate
Because
them to.
you got to know where your players are and know how to distribute the ball and all of this, know how to run the plays, and know where everybody are. Especially when you're running and gunning, you got to know where everybody's going to be.
Hmm.
When you go into the hole, you got a guy that's on the. So I thought, when Michael Jordan was playing, they were the best at it. They were the best at it, man. They come down the court next thing, you got Kerr on the corner, Michael Jordan will go in like he's gonna shoot the ball, he'll push it out to Curry, Curry hit a three from the corner.
Yep.
And it was always where they was running constantly, and that, just like you were saying, that court general, you just distribute the ball, and then next thing you know, you got a layup with Mike coming in. So it's beautiful to see a good court general to come up down the field, or the court rather.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's going to be so exciting to watch these young players at the start of the season next year. When they get off out of the blocks and be able to go and start playing. If you look at the draft headquarters at Washington, all of them are clapping in there like they've hit a home run, technically for
They
basketball. But
probably think they have hit the home run because if you think about what they had in the very near future, they hadn't been picking up good players like this. Not early in a draft like this. They haven't been getting these type of players.
Mhm.
So we're gonna
Yeah,
see how this gonna pan out now.
yeah, no doubt about it. It looks as though New Orleans is up right now, and New Orleans is going to have some help because New Orleans has got a decent team and they have potential, um, but it just remains to be seen. Um, it remains to be seen if what's his name is going to ever step up. The center for New Orleans, who used to play at Duke. New Orleans. Let me pull his name up. His name just slipped by me. We were talking about him a couple days ago. As a matter of fact, he's had weight issues. Um,
Yeah.
and
Didn't even hear Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra run
Zion
that weight off of
Williamson.
him.
I don't know why that name
Yeah.
just slipped past me.
Slipped your mind.
Zion
Yeah.
Williamson can be a super dominant player. It looks like Bruce Brown is currently with New Orleans, Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum sometimes is on First Take. I've looked at First Take in over a year or two, but CJ McCollum, he's a good player. Um, and it's just they just gonna have to continually add to that talent. So New Orleans definitely need to really pick a good player and try to hit a home run today as well, because they need that delicate balance of being able to give their coach an opportunity to be able to build different types of schemes and different types of starting floor groups that he could rotate in and out, I would think, you know.
Mhm.
So it looks as though here, and I'm looking here at the TV right now, and it looks like my guy Bob Myers is sitting there with Stephen A. Smith, and they're talking about some of the picks that's already in, and some of the things that's going on. Um, because this is definitely a really good, interesting draft, I think. But you know what, Isaiah, I miss Najee. I'm just telling you right
Yeah.
now, and and
So
and
do I.
I miss him
Yeah, so
dearly.
do I.
Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
I feel so much more comfortable when Najee's around because he knows basketball, man. This kid, he knows basketball. He just spits it out. He just off the top of his head. And next year's draft, we'll definitely have a little draft party where Najee will be a part of this, but he just had to be away on assignment, so we're not going to worry about that right now. It looks as though New Orleans pick is in, and let's see here on the list who New Orleans is possibly looking
You're
at.
running a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah, I think with the TV, and then I
Yeah.
have my computer here actually with it, and there is a time gap. I mean, it's a break between the
Okay,
time.
that's the number.
Stephen A has got this powder blue suit on, with a powder blue suit with a powder blue
Hi.
tie
Hi.
on. He really puts together some fashion statements with some of the things he wear, but most of his stuff is tailor made. I would say.
Yeah.
So he don't just
Yeah, the
go
other
into to
guy.
men's suit outlet and buy a suit, off the rack like what a lot of people do. Steve, they get that stuff made from. I mean, they measure him and they make his suits based on his measurements. And
Just literature in front of them too, so don't think they just know it off the top of their head like
oh, for
Najee.
sure, for
They got
sure.
a bunch of books and computers and all the whole nine
Absolutely.
yards.
They
And
do it. Hey, I'm doing
yeah,
the same
yeah,
thing because I'm here
yeah.
compiling all of this data and the stats and all of that, and we're putting it together here as well. So it's just, if you're not as familiar, and these guys are familiar with basketball, but my familiarity is getting better and better and better. So it looks like New Orleans selection is in right now. So let's see who New Orleans selects. So it looks like OU, Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. Let's pull his stats up. Being at a school like Oklahoma, they play in the SEC now. They used to play in the
Took him
Big Eight
blinged
and
up,
then the
man.
Big 12.
Jeremiah Fears is his name.
Yeah, Jeremiah
Jeremiah
Fears.
Fears. This dude is blinged up too, man. Look at this
Oh, for
bling he
sure.
got on. This
Pure
dude
diamonds.
just
He ain't
iced
playing around.
up, man.
So he's six
But
four,
that's
182. It looks like. He is the real deal. He's a guard, of course, and this draft looked like it's going to be guard heavy. He averages
man,
17
that's
points a
good.
game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. His field goal average was 43.4 for a guard. So he's definitely got all of the intangibles to be a superstar, you know, to be a superstar at this level. I mean, if you think about it, because I'm looking at some of his stats, and he played in the
Man, that just
SEC,
gives
and the
a
SEC is
fashion
one of the
statement as
toughest
well.
basketball divisions in college basketball. If you think about it, other than the Big East, if you think about in the ACC, of course, you got the ACC, but the Big East is still a powerhouse conference, and then you have the SEC with the Alabamas and the LSU's and the Arkansas and the Kentuckys and the Georgias and the
Absolutely.
South Carolinas. So it's a very, very competitive conference, even though the SEC, when you mention SEC, you always think football first. But he's the seventh pick, and you know, I think he's gonna help this team out. I really do. Blake Griffin was the last first pick, and we all remember Blake Griffin coming out of Oklahoma back in the day. He ended up playing for the Clippers for a long, long time. You know.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They showing all the guys who came out of there, man. But
Yeah. With Blake
Oklahoma has
Griffin,
been producing some
Buddy Hield is another one,
uh,
but Blake Griffin is definitely superstar wise, talent wise. Blake Griffin had all of the right intangibles to be successful at the NBA level. He never won. I don't think he ever won a championship. He never won a ring, right? Let me see. Blake
no,
Griffin.
no, he didn't never win a championship. Not in professional, he hadn't.
Yeah, Blake Griffin never won,
Mm-mm.
a ring. He didn't win any
No,
championships in his career. Actually, it says here.
no, he's been on good teams, but he hadn't won no championship.
Hmm. But
He's
to
been
look
on
at this
quite a
kid
few
right
good
now
teams.
driving to the basket and being able to do what he's doing, he wears number 0 too, and
Mhm.
he is definitely talented, man. You know, do you remember Mookie Blaylock? Used to play for
Yes,
Oklahoma
I
back
do.
in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah,
Man,
I remember him.
Oklahoma had a
They,
powerhouse
they,
team
they,
back then, man.
yeah, man, Mookie Blaylock was fierce, man.
Yeah, because if you think about that team that Oklahoma had back then, man, they were damn near unstoppable as far as I could see.
Yeah,
This man's mother, I mean, Jeremiah Fear's mother is so happy. I mean, she's in the stratosphere, man. Just thinking about
yeah,
once
yeah,
again, his mother prepped him and raised him right to get to this point, and he
yeah.
has to
You,
give
you,
her that due credit because if it wasn't for his mother, who knows whether he would have made it or not. You know what I mean? Am I right or
well,
wrong?
you absolutely correct. And this is what I was saying early in the segment because they showed some footage of him, seeing about his siblings while his mom was at work.
Hmm.
He was that big brother who had to look out for the younger siblings, the brothers and the sisters, man. And your mom out there trying to make ends meet, and you the oldest one, you got to look out for the family. And so now all of that dedication is coming to fruition tonight, man. He's paying her back right now
Oh
for
yeah.
all the hard work and dedication. Yep.
And I'm pretty sure, like you said, you mentioned before, these kids' NIL contracts are just out of the roof. I mean, so I don't
Yeah.
know what Spears' contracts call for with NIL, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, he definitely
Yeah.
was making some serious money over at OU
No,
with this
it's
NIL.
it's always hundreds of thousands of dollars, even you know, if it's not millions. But it's just to have that extra added income coming in the household. If your mom is a single mom, you got a single parent, and if you got an NIL contract, you
Mm-hmm.
bringing in that extra added money in the house to help out, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what it's really all about, man. Because first of all, you were away in college and then your mom don't have that same help that she had. But if he's sending that money home to her, she can hire help, and or either she don't have to work anymore because you get $1 million contract. You can put your mom, you can retire her, and she
Oh,
can
for
just make
sure.
sure she take care of your siblings, your brothers and your sisters, and that's what I love about this stuff, man. I love this, bro. Love it with all my heart to see these guys being able to take care of their family.
Yeah, and it's nothing
Yep.
like having that satisfaction to be able to go to that real estate agent and say, you know what? I'm gonna get my mama a house. I'm gonna get her one of the biggest houses, and not necessarily always the biggest house. He's
Yeah,
going to get his mother a
it's
comfortable
comfortable.
place to stay,
It's
correct?
all it's all about. Just comfortable. Just get her in
Yeah,
a nice
comfortable.
neighborhood in a
Yeah,
comfortable spot and decent car to drive around in. It don't have to
exactly.
be a massive house at all.
Mhm.
And matter of fact, some of these people don't even want a big house like that because it's so difficult to maintain. So they'll rather have some moderate house, a decent car, and money in their pocket where they can go buy grocery and take care of their utilities. That's what it's really, really all about.
Exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely. It looks as though Brooklyn is up next, and it looks like Brooklyn's pick is in. So let's take a look at that. Look like my computer froze up here.
Freaking Stephen A. Always got to be dramatic.
Well, he's a dramatic
Yeah.
guy. Stephen A. has gotten to the
Yelling,
point that he is now by
yelling and
being
screaming
dramatic,
and shit.
being loud and bombastic and stuff. When it
Yeah.
comes to
Yeah.
that, he's definitely
Yeah.
number one at that stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, so they just picked a kid out of Brigham Young, Brooklyn Nets,
Yeah.
Igor Dimin.
Mhm.
I think they said Moscow. I want to say, um,
This way. He's from Moscow?
well, his family. I'm assuming that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Igor Dimming.
Mhm.
Well, Brooklyn got him. Clean cut guy. Looked like an army
Adam
cadet.
Silver just mentioned that, and that someone said Moscow. One of the announcers said Moscow as well. So, but
Yeah.
BYU, he's a guard too, and he looks pretty damn tall for a guard to me. He looks tall and lanky as well. Let's see what his stats and what his profile looks like. Igor Dimin. So he's 6'9", playing guard. I mean, 6'9", that's
Good guard.
Magic Johnson, 6'9",
Wow.
6'10", Worthy, and
There
all
it
those
is.
guys. To have a big,
Had some dudes
tall,
coming in and getting paid.
yeah. I mean, he's got good court size. He's definitely, he's got the size for to be able to bring the ball up the court and to be able to get a guard at 6'9", 6'10", to me is special for any
Hmm.
team. You know, it looks like
Where he come
Toronto is
from? What
coming up.
school?
Hmm?
What school does he come from?
BYU, Brigham
Oh,
Young.
okay. Well, he's a good shooter too, man.
Yes, I'm pulling up his numbers right now. I'm gonna look at his
Oh,
stats.
yeah,
Yeah, it says he was born. He's 19 years old, born in Moscow, Russia. Um,
yeah.
Point guard, small forward, another player they could play forward or small forward, of course. You know.
Well, I can't look at a person and tell where you're from, man. Some people can. Oh, he look like this. I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't
I'm not
either.
that
I mean, I
talented.
try not to even think like that in that sense. You know. Let's see here.
But I tell you one thing, he's a sharpshooter, man. He's shooting well and he passed well. Okay.
So right here it
Six
says,
nine.
according to his career
Right up
stats,
40 some code.
because it depends on their role too. A lot of times, the role that I mean, the type of role that the coach has for certain players on the court.
Hmm.
Because it looks like he averaged up to 10 points a game, which, like you say, he's a shooter, and he can
Hmm.
handle the ball. 3.9 rebounds, which technically is 4 rebounds, 6 assists a game. He's got a 41% field goal average, so that's not too bad either. I don't think. Um, he's still a good pick for them, I believe. So Toronto has 2 minutes and 40 seconds left before their next pick is in. Let's look here.
He's showing all the BYU players that was selected in the lottery.
Yeah, BYU, they have to go on missions. I know a lot of times if you play in the athletics. If you're in athletics at BYU, you have, I believe, the mission is a 5-year mission. I don't know how it applies to Igor here, but I know, it's kind of like when David Robinson was at the Naval Academy. They had to waive his military service for him to be able to play. Um,
Oh yeah, I remember that. When David Robinson played, when he was a military cadet.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember when he, had to do his service. But I always thought that was some of the most honorable thing you can do as a cadet, man. When you serving your country, you're playing your sport that you love. You don't get it no better than that, man. David Robinson wore that uniform well, man.
yep. So Napoleon McCallum was another one. I think Napoleon McCallum was at the Naval Academy as well. He was another running
Mhm.
back, and he ended up playing for the Raiders as well. And he ended up having to. I think they waived his service, and they just deferred it. In other words, they didn't waive it, but it's a deferral where I guess they could serve in the service, based on some of if they meet some of the
Yeah,
criteria based on that.
yeah.
But a BYU mission, and that goes for football or any sport at BYU.
Where this draft is being held, DC.
Brooklyn, I think it's in Brooklyn, New York. So it says men typically serve 24 months and women typically serve 18 months in their missions, you know.
And that's after they get out of the service. Once they do their 4 years in the service, if they was playing a sport, then they also have to do almost like the Rangers do. Going to serve one weekend a month. Is
Could
it
be.
similar to that?
It could be similar. I would have to dig and look into that, but it says here
It's just
at
like a
BYU,
reservist.
students are not required to serve missions, but those who are members of the Church of Jesus
Yeah.
Christ of Latter-day Saints may
They'll
choose
think,
to do
yeah,
so, you
yeah,
know. So
yeah. Oh man,
I don't think there's a requirement, but there was a time that I remember, if I recall, back in the '80s, that they went on missions. I mean, at least the
yeah,
football players did back then, and and that's very unique in its own way, and it's special. I mean, when you're serving on a mission, you're going to other countries and you're helping people in poor countries and things like that. So it's definitely a positive, if the school did require at some point, and now it's no obligation or requirement to do it. I think that's still special, in a lot of ways. It looks as though Toronto pick is in, and let's see. The Memphis Grizzlies look like they pick at 16. We're at the number 9 pick right now. So I'm just trying to figure out when the Lakers, let me see where the Lakers fall.
Lakers are nowhere in sight of this when they
You
was
know what?
going
They
what
might have, let's see, the Lakers
unless they
2025 pick.
traded down or something. They could have traded down.
So it says here that they hold the 55th pick in the 2025 NBA draft. So to me,
Yep.
the
Somebody they're gonna make
55th
a
pick,
they're gonna get passed over.
that's in the second round. I mean, because this pick is in the
Right.
second
That means
round.
they're gonna trade it off on
They
something. They
done
might have
traded
swapped
off.
out
Yeah.
with they probably traded off with Texas, with
So it
Dallas.
it looks oh, South Carolina's got a kid, Colin Murray Boyles, just got picked by Toronto. He's a forward. And South Carolina, I mean, their women are just off the charts, but they have a pretty good men's basketball team as well, you know.
Look at
They
this.
said that this kid could potentially play power forward or center. He's 6'6" and a half, so that's about 6'7", 239 pounds. But he's got some size on him. He's not no little skinny kid at that height. You know what I mean? A lot of those kids,
Yeah.
if you got them 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and they weigh 190 pounds, I mean, come on. you got to put on weight because in order to be able to grind in that league, and especially inside the paint, you definitely got to have some weight on you to be able to bump and put some bruising on another player, the opposing players, you know. So his girlfriend is Chloe Kitts, 6'2", starting forward on the South Carolina women's team.
Mm. Yeah, I seen her. She's tall too, man. That she is right there with the red dress on.
You know, University of South Carolina is a great school to attend. I mean, it's in the city of Columbia. It's a great community. Um, Technically, the university take up
Man, Adam
almost
Silver,
all
know
of
he got a good
downtown
job, boy.
Columbia. You know, and that campus is
Yeah,
just it's a immaculate campus. It's a big
uh,
campus, and that's his girl. I think this is his girlfriend right here.
red dress.
Yeah,
Oh, she's
and
in the
she's
red
super
dress.
good too. Chloe Kitts is. I think she'll be a
Yeah,
first round WNBA player, no doubt about it. You know, because I've seen her in the national championship game when they
that she
played.
is right there, number 21.
Yes, number 21. I'm really happy for him. I mean,
Man,
you can't be nothing but happy for these young people, these young men, especially
what a
today.
what a combination between them two.
Oh yeah,
Imagine
absolutely.
they have kids. If they have
Oh,
kids, they're gonna
beautiful,
be
beautiful,
7 footers.
and they're gonna be tall.
Yeah, they'll be 7 footers, man.
Yes, for sure.
Because she's 6'2" and he's what, 6'8", something like
It
that.
says 6'6.5" what I was looking at
Well,
on
that's
the
you
ticker.
got a woman
Yeah,
that's
that's her
six
right here.
two. Yeah.
And I know she's super happy for him because he'll be sitting at the WNBA draft for her at some point.
Hmm. Yeah. This dude in the green jacket, who is he? Because they were showing him on something. There she is right there. Uh, I imagine what's going on that campus with both of them being such superstars. You know, he's on the top of his game and she's on the top of her game.
Yeah, it says here that it looks like she's a sophomore. Um,
Wow.
According to this, sophomore year was
Hmm.
23-24, so I think she's a junior now. She has to fall under the. Let's see here. Yeah, she's a junior. I'm looking at her profile on South Carolina's website. Here's
But
his
can
mother.
they come out now?
Hmm?
Can they come out early?
You know what? Let me double check that because I want to make sure I'm accurate when I say that.
Can the girls come out early?
In college women,
Man, his mom is all smiles, bro. His mom is all smiles.
so it says here, college women can declare for the WNBA draft, but they must meet specific eligibility requirements. Generally, they must be at least 22 years old during the draft year and have graduated from a 4-year college or be 4 years removed. Additionally, players who are not
Until he
yet 22
graduates.
and still have eligibility can declare for the draft, but they must renounce their remaining college eligibility, if that makes
What,
sense.
that don't make sense.
It doesn't
What do
make
you
sense.
mean graduate? What don't and so most of
According to
these people
this,
don't graduate.
so it looks like let me just type in can they declare early? And that'll
No,
solve that.
that beat around the bush. Yeah, let's see if they can declare early. That's all that need to
No,
be said.
no.
But
College
so
women
so
cannot
they
declare
cannot.
early for the WNBA draft in the way that men can for the NBA. So
Oh, wow.
she's gonna have to stay
You have
in
to do all
until
4 years.
she's gonna
Yeah.
have to do all four
Or
years because it's a
if she
different
get out of school,
requirement.
she got to be 4 years removed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if she comes out early, she's got to be 4 years removed before she can
That's
enter the
right.
draft.
That's right.
So if she removed herself for 4 years, what's she gonna do? Pick up basketball at the neighborhood park
I would hope
and
not.
get
She'll
rusty?
probably be playing against her boyfriend because I'm pretty sure they do one on ones. More than likely, she played him
Yeah.
one on one. Wouldn't you think? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
of
just
course. That's
my
probably why
guess.
she's so good.
Yeah,
Yeah, if
because she only
he's
gets
trained,
better
that's
by
why she's
playing
so
him one
good.
on one, and he's not
Yeah,
taking it
yeah,
easy on her. He's giving her all he got. If you think about
yeah. So
that.
imagine when she plays the girls, then if she can
Oh yeah.
play him,
Oh yeah.
if she's playing against him, practicing against him, you imagine
She's
how
one of
dominant she
Don
will be with
Staley's
the
top
women.
players, actually.
Yeah,
Look at KP. Kendrick Perkins is here talking. KP know he be eating them vittles, boy. He don't hold back on them vittles. Because I remember a time when he was at OKC where he was skinny. He wasn't like this. Here's Jay Billis. He
well,
used to play for Duke. So it looks like the Houston Rockets pick is in. So this is going to be kind of critical because KD just got there, and
yeah,
we'll see who Houston picks because it's just going to be really important because Houston's got a really young team, don't you think?
yeah. And they're building that team over there. They got,
Yeah,
Durant's going over there to be the old man to teach them. He's going to be that general on the court teaching these young folks.
absolutely. So
Yeah,
their pick is in. The Houston Rockets pick is in.
yeah. And this is going to be a very interesting season next
Also,
year with
Duke
all these
center.
young superstars coming in. Yeah,
So it looks like three Duke players in the top 10.
it's gotten big. Wow.
Iman Malak. Malak.
Malawak, she's saying.
Malak. He looks
And
like one
that's
of them
him.
guys gonna command respect in that middle because he's a big boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see here.
Like another one of those international players that we were talking about too.
Yeah.
These kids coming from all over the world playing in the NBA
Yeah,
now.
South Sudan.
Well, you will definitely see these guys when the Olympics come around.
He's 7'2" also. I mean, he's 7'2".
I mean, he towering over all these
Seven
guys,
foot two,
man.
250 pounds. So just imagine if he were to add 10 more pounds and make
Putting
it
pounds on it,
260.
man.
Yeah. You could put
Yeah,
a little bit of
they might put 20 pounds on him though,
yeah.
and he blinged up like the rest. Yeah.
I know he's happy
Well, these
because,
dreams are coming true.
to be able to leave South Sudan and well, he's on their national team too. He's on that Sudan national team.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That once we start playing those teams overseas, we'll be
Mhm.
playing against the ones that's playing in the NBA.
Some of them, yeah, absolutely. So it's showing him in South Sudan, I believe, or at least he's showing his story from the actual beginning.
And that guy is a total disbelief, man.
Absolutely,
Dude,
because
something.
technically,
There he is
he.
right now with
Mhm.
Cleveland stuff on. Nobody seen him like that. That's how all this thing came about. You should be playing basketball, bro.
Absolutely.
Walking down the street with his book bag on at 13 years old.
You can't be
Now
nothing
he's
but
six,
happy
he's
for him
seven
because
one,
it's
7-1.
it all goes back that he's an instant multi-millionaire now, being picked at in the position that he's picked in, you know,
Yeah,
because he's the number 10th pick. I mean, so you go from 1 to 10. I mean, the money is
yeah,
that contract is going to be bloated up for you. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yes, it is.
Anything
Yep.
beyond 10, I would think the contracts start to kind of level out a little bit from the
Yeah,
remaining teams. But if you in that
but
top
you
five bracket like Cooper Flag, and I mean they're talking about anywhere from 62 to 63 million dollars for Cooper Flag. I mean that just sets the bar for a lot of these other players.
and that's still on the rookie deal. That's
Yeah.
still on a rookie deal to make that kind of
I
money,
don't know
man. That's
how they
it's
do it
unheard
because
of.
I'm not. That's why I say I was, Najee would be able to answer that for us, but
Yeah.
it's just, I think what they do is they look at these teams base that value on some of these players. Because look at what Travis Hunter got. I mean, in the NFL, being the number two
Well,
pick.
Travis Hunter,
But he's a two-way
DC,
player, so I'm not forgetting about
yes,
that.
that's what I was just
Yeah,
getting
he's
ready
a
to
two-way
say.
player.
You that and they paying him accordingly because
Exactly.
they paying him for being a starter on both sides because apparently he went to camp and he's being able to do both of them, so they're gonna let him do it.
Exactly.
He was at his mom or his girlfriend or something over there crying, man, because they know their life is dramatically changing
Hmm.
and dreams have
Oh, it's
begun
it's
to
like
flourish.
it's like a game changer for him. Look at his, yeah, they so happy because they know everybody in the family's life is getting ready to change for the better.
Yeah,
I mean, if you think
yeah,
about it, it's like
hmm
if you're a human being and you wake up and you're struggling every day and you're trying to figure out how you're gonna pay your water bill and your gas bill and your car
Look
note,
at his siblings, bro.
and he was able to get an education from Duke. So think about that too. I
Yeah,
mean, that's an extra plus for him too, because usually Duke
yeah, yeah,
generally graduate 100% of their players too. So he'll get his
yeah,
education. He'll have a solid Duke education. Then he'll play
yeah.
professional basketball. I think Manute Bol was the last player to come out of Sudan, right? You remember Manute Bol? I think he
Not
was seven
sure.
four.
Yeah, but then what's the coach that's coaching over there on that international team? I seen him in the Olympics last year. He used to play for shoot, I forgot what team he played for, but he was the head coach over there. He the one started basketball over there.
In Sudan.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot his name, man. And he was good. He played with the Chicago Bulls, I think. You see it? Then you look it up.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Look up the Sudan's head coach.
Luol Deng. Luol
Luau Dane.
Deng.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Former
yeah.
NBA All Star, is a key figure in starting and developing
Yep.
basketball in
Yes,
South Sudan.
yes, yes,
He
yes,
serves as the
yes, yes, yes.
president of the South Sudan Basketball Federation and has been
Yes.
instrumental in building the team from ground up and bringing players,
Mhm.
to the level that this young man is now. I mean, if you think about it,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Sudan
That's
is
what
a
I'm telling you.
very, very poverty stricken country, and be for Luau Deng to be able to go back home and be able to help those players, to me, is special. You know, to help these young kids, not just players, but to help young kids in general to try to aspire to do something when all of the deck of cards is stacked against you. You
Yeah,
fighting uphill every day you wake up. You fighting uphill, but on the flip side of that, here's another success story. So if you could
yeah.
get one across the finish line, that's all you need. That's really all you
That's all
need.
you need, and that's
Yeah.
what it's all
Yeah.
about. When you inspire and inspire these people to do well like this here, and you can touch one person, you actually have done your job. And
Absolutely.
that's with anything. If you're running a after school program or anything like that, if you can inspire one person to change his attitude and to change his way of thinking on a positive where they can become some professional, because if you can do that, that person might have the fortitude to give back as well. And now it can snowball.
Absolutely.
And then he could do the same thing. It's that giving back thing, man. It's that
Yeah.
paying forward type of situation
and and,
you're
and it's
looking
a
for.
like it's like a chain event. It's like, it's passing off the baton, because this young man, who
Derek
knows, he may go back to
Howard
Sudan and help young kids
from
just like
Washington
Luau
State,
Deng
DC.
did, right?
Cedric Cowart from Washington State just got picked.
Yes. And it looks like, yeah, for Portland, he's got a 56% field goal average. uh he's pretty good, actually. Let me pull his numbers up.
Yeah, boy, I tell you.
So it looks like his numbers, he averaged 17 or 18 points a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and he shot 55% from the field. So I mean
Mhm.
that to me is super overly impressive. He's a forward, 6'6", 190. He'll beef up a little bit. They'll put a little bit of weight on him in the NBA because he's going to have weight to be able to play at the level and an intensity in the NBA, because it's much different from college. You playing against adults in the NBA.
Yeah.
You playing against 18, 19-year olds in college, but you playing against
Yeah.
grown men at the NBA level, you know. So it looks as though we'll cover a couple of more picks, which is the 12. We'll cover up until the
Yeah.
15th pick, and then we'll call it a day with this draft. But we actually have seen the top so far 12 teams pick. I
Yeah.
mean, it looks like
And
Chicago
this is the
Bulls is
best in
on
the
the clock
country
right
too,
now.
DC.
What's
Yeah.
that?
I mean, these are the best players in the country right now who's getting
Absolutely.
picked first.
Absolutely.
They're the best. I just couldn't believe that Duke had three people out of this few that we've seen. Three people on their team has got picked first. So that goes to show you what kind of year they had.
But you know what? Sadly to say, they didn't make it to the finals. I mean, they didn't make it to the final. They made it to the final four, but they didn't get to the championship, you know?
That doesn't mean anything. They could have been out coached, but they've got good players though. That don't mean that just because you didn't win a championship, you didn't have good players on your team. You could have got out coached. It could have been injury. It could have been anything that stopped them from getting to be, champions. But they got the players. They
Hmm.
surely have the players. Because you don't have three players go in the top 10 on a basketball team unless you have a great team.
Because if you look
Man,
at
what a beautiful
Duke,
thing.
Florida ended up winning it all over Houston, as we know. But it looks as
Yeah.
though the
And not
final
one of Florida players got picked yet, though. There's
true,
no
true.
players. Florida hasn't had a pick yet. Nobody's on Florida team and gotten picked yet.
Yeah, it was a kind of a
Yeah.
letdown for Duke to have all that talent on that team. I mean, you got three guys that went in the top 10, and then they didn't get there. But I mean, that's life, man. If you think
Yeah.
about certain things, do they line up? Does all the dots line up where they need to
Yeah.
line up? And
It's got
sometimes
to.
they don't. You
They,
know,
they have to. To even become a professional, everything has to line up. You know, you were just talking about how the kid go to school and then he's got to graduate, or either he's got to do 4 years as a woman playing. In the WNBA, they got to go all 4 years. So that means everything has to line up. And male sports and basketball, they can opt out early and leave.
true.
So, you might get injured as a girl going 4 years, but then if a guy goes out early, he can automatically get in to professionals basketball.
Hmm.
So I think they need to rethink that.
Oh, I'm pretty
I
sure that's
really
going to
think
be
they got to
on that's going
rethink
to be
that.
on the agenda because they got to get it's got to be a little bit more fairer than that. I mean, because a lot of these young ladies, when they play at that level, they should have the same opportunities as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it should be any different. If a male can come out and declare early as a
Yeah,
junior, a female should
yeah,
be able to do the same. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what the WNBA is thinking about because, I mean, I know the
yeah,
WNBA might probably stress more on a 4 year education than maybe the men do, but they need to really even that up so that young ladies can leave and then they can take care of their families because see, that's ultimately what it's about. You have an obligation to go to school for 4 years, but then again, on the flip side of that, you are actually displaying and giving the school your talent to be able to win at a level where the school can actually benefit from it. So why can't the players benefit from it? So they need to,
well,
if the WNBA is listening, they need to listen carefully and rethink
yeah,
that and put that on their next agenda because You know, young ladies like Chloe Kitts should be able to come out if they want to come out.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's
You
no
know,
rhyme
that's
or
why I
reason
was
why
so
she's got to stay in 2 more years. I mean, who knows what may happen, the injuries and everything else. They need to give it a better
you
situation.
just
They
hit
need
it.
to give these young
You
ladies a
just
better opportunity,
you
is
just
what I'm saying.
validated what I've been talking about. You
Yeah,
just
exactly.
validated by saying that who knows, man. You know, the way these injuries occur, you can turn an ankle or knee or something like
Yep.
that, or rotator cuff, and then you're done.
Yep.
So I think
And
they need to get the opportunity to leave early.
they need to be able to live out their dreams the same as these young
Yeah.
men, you know. Just like I said that with the one and done, which was at the University of Kentucky. They said the architect of that was Kentucky's coach at the time, and he was basically telling players, "Why are you staying here if you've actually done 1 year, especially if it's a national championship situation where you won a national championship? There ain't no rhyme or reason why you should stay here. You should go on into the NBA and start making money, taking care of your family, feeding your family. You know."
Yeah, because you've done the ultimate. If you won a championship, you've done the ultimate, man. And in your life, you need to start living your life because you're still an amateur. As long as you're in college, you're an amateur. No matter whether you got
Absolutely.
NIL money coming in or not, you're an amateur. And then your life is still kind of put on hold until you get drafted in the NBA or the NFL.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got the next pick coming in
Who's up
right
next
now.
pick?
Chicago. And this is the number 12th pick right now.
Yeah. Chicago Bulls, boy. The
Okay,
12th pick.
so this
This is
this
the
young
12th pick.
man is very talented. I was reading a little bit up on his profile, and he's definitely going to help Chicago for sure. He's from France too. He's a forward.
Oh,
So he's a French player
wow.
coming from France. That brother there got on a bow tie like me, man.
How do you pronounce his name?
I'll have
Is
you know what? I'll look.
Noah Esingo from France. Noah Esingo. How do you pronounce his name, DC?
I'm gonna look
I
it
say
up
Noah
because
Esingo.
I would rather look it up than
18 years old? 18 years old.
he's 18 years old. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yep. His father owns a car wash business and his mother is a teacher, they said on
In
here.
France.
Hmm. So boy, we got a bunch of international players done got picked
Oh, the league
already.
is definitely
We got
growing
like
for
four or
international
five.
players.
Yeah. Boy, that doggone Najee, know he missed, man. Hey man, this guy's a sharpshooter, DC. You see him for
I'm
them
looking at
threes?
some of his highlights over in France. Looks like he's playing against talent that I mean, that don't even measure up to what he's capable of doing to me.
That uniform where they're wearing looked like University of Tennessee uniform.
Yes, it does. It's like the orange and white.
Yeah, the orange and white, they look like University of Tennessee. So the Chicago Bulls are building on their team, man. I want my Miami Heat to start pulling the trigger like this. We need it.
Absolutely.
We need a superstar desperately.
And these brothers coming over here and they making a instant impact from France.
Yeah, 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 man. But getting back to what we were talking about earlier, these guys are multi-talented where they can play so many positions on the court.
And that's important because
Yeah, very important.
if you are multi-talented like that and can actually play different positions, you only enhance your value
Your
to a
ball club.
team,
Yeah,
you know?
your ball club as well. You know, if you are more of a contributor to the team, I don't know what kind of suit he got on, though, with these things dangling on his sleeve. You see his outfit?
They say his family name is African name from Central African countries like Cameroon.
Yeah,
Essenig. But either way, I mean, it's nice to
yeah,
see some of the international players be able to come over and be able to instantly be able to compete at the level at the NBA because 40 years ago,
yeah,
they would have every blue moon, they would have an international player come over and they would make some impact,
yeah,
like Manute
yeah. But this
Bol or
one, like,
Luol
yeah,
Deng and guys like that, you
hmm
know. But
yeah.
you didn't
But it's
have
a
them like you
concert
have them
now.
now.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's so competitive around the globe with basketball. Now they're playing it in school. They playing it in elementary school, junior high, and high school. So now they go to college over here so they can wind up going to the NBA.
Exactly.
And that's why it's growing. Is a global sport now.
So now they're
Who's supposed to
honoring
pick
some of
now?
the players, actually the NBA pioneers. Adam
Pioneers.
Silver
Yeah,
is actually honoring right now. So it looks like the 13th pick is in for the Atlanta Hawks right now.
yeah. Uh-huh. The guy with that striped suit on, who is he? I can't make him out.
You're
I
talking
can't
about in
make
the
out
white
this stuff.
striped suit?
Yeah, oh yeah, with the little powder blue tie on.
Yeah, he looks familiar. I don't know right off the top because I don't see a name next to him, but he's tall. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
It says Lloyd, Clifton, and Cooper. These are the three photos. I guess the pioneers of the
yeah.
1950s.
He looked familiar though. I just can't put his name on it. Yeah, we got Lloyd Clifton Cooper. Yeah.
So it looks like the Hawks had a proposed trade. They will receive the number 23 pick and an unprotected 2026 first round pick, and the Pelicans would receive a pick number 13. So that was a proposed
Isn't
trade. I don't
the Miami Heat was 20, right?
I
The
I
Heat,
do
the
believe the
Heat
Heat
is
is
20.
20.
The Pelicans receive that. Yeah.
So it looks like Adam Silver is up now to see who the Hawks pick. Derek Queen, University
Derek
of
Queen is
Maryland.
the one that's yeah, University of Maryland.
And you remember back in the day in the 80s, the University of Maryland was
Maryland used to
the
be competitive.
woo.
Yeah, man. Yeah. They really had a
They had
good
a
team,
coach back
man.
then named Lefty Drizel. I don't know
Their
whether most people
basketball
remember
team was
him.
better than the football team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their basketball team was more competitive than the football team. And then the basketball team kind of dropped off a little bit, and then the football team got better.
Yeah, Lefty Drizel was the Maryland's coach, and Lenny Bias actually
Well,
came out of Maryland.
this
You
is,
remember Lenny
yeah, he
Bias,
came
right?
out of, yeah, of course I did. I didn't want to mention that about him earlier because it was going so well. And that first guy, that center, and the way how hyped it was, I didn't want to bring Lynn Bias up because of the tragedy happened to him.
Yeah,
But he
and I'm
reminded me so
sorry,
much
but
of
I
Lynn
mean,
Bias.
my condolences still go out to Len Bias and his family. I mean, that was just such a tragedy
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happened. But it just goes to show
Hmm.
you generation after generation after generation. Because look at this Maryland player, you know, he's been picked in the first round in the top 20.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
and
remember him the night he got drafted, DC, when he
I do.
walked up there and grabbed
I
that hat
remember
on,
that.
that Boston Celtics hat on, and
I remember that.
man, it just was a tragedy,
And
man, to
then it
see
was
him.
just so much
Two
shock
days later,
and
two
disbelief.
days later,
It was
and
just
they
so
was
much
banking
shock
on
and
him.
disbelief when it happened
Yeah,
too.
they were banking on him because the Boston Celtics had to regroup and
Oh yeah.
rebuild their team, and he was going to be that
Oh,
one
he was
that
that missing
they
link
was
that
going to
they
build a
had.
team
I mean,
around
it
him.
would have been him, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge,
Yeah,
Robert
yeah, and they
Parrish,
would have plugged him in there, and
and
they
they
would
would
have
have
plugged
plugged him
Lynn
in there,
Bias
man.
in
The
there.
Lakers would
Yeah,
the Western Conference would
been
have
in
been
some
in a heap of
serious
trouble.
trouble.
They'd have been in a
Yeah,
heap of trouble with that, you know,
and they was
'cause
counting on that man. 2 days
yeah,
later, bam.
yeah. And such a tragedy, but it's so nice to see a young man like Derek Queen come along, and he's a center. I mean, he's going to be an
Yeah,
impactful player, I think. I
yeah.
just pulled his information up, so let's see here.
Man, you talking about Stephen A's outfit? These other two guys are bringing it too. They're
Oh, you're
bringing it
talking,
too, man.
yeah, you're talking about Bob Myers, who used to be the ex
You
GM
know,
for Golden State. Bob
yeah.
Myers dresses
That
pretty conservatively, don't he?
that's his mom with him with Queen. Is
Yes,
that his mom, Derek
I
Queen? That's his mom.
I want to say yes.
You
And you
know,
know
it's
what?
always nice to be able
That
to see
Lenny
a
Bias
center.
tragedy,
Yeah,
it destroyed the whole Maryland program at that time,
yeah,
because that was I mean, Maryland ended up pretty much just coming apart. I mean, Lefty Drizel quit. I mean, and the program just was in disarray for such a long time, you know. So Derek Queen stats shows here. Yeah, they showing his highlights right now, and he's a very agile big man, as you can see, when it comes to
mhm,
defense and offense, blocking
yeah,
shots.
yeah.
He
Yeah,
averaged
that's what I was
seven.
saying. The way he goes to the hole, he shoots
Yes,
well,
yes.
and I
So,
love his bank, the way he bank it off the glass too, man.
uh-huh. So it looks like his 2024-25 stats is a 17 points average per game, 9 rebounds per game, 2 assists, and he was shooting at a 52.6, which is 53%. I mean, his
And
shot,
that's great.
that is
That's great for a
crazy.
center, man.
Yeah,
And they were showing what a good shot blocker he is as well.
absolutely. So it looks like San Antonio had a second pick, and they
Yeah,
picked Carter Bryant out of Arizona, University U of A. That's what they call the
yeah,
school, U of A.
yeah,
I like that jacket he's got on too, man. I love that fashion.
yeah.
That's a cool jacket. Kind of remind me of Butch Lewis, the ex boxing
Oh,
man.
that dude ain't got on no shirt.
He don't have no shirt.
He ain't got.
All well,
He look
all he
like
needs
Bush
is a bow
Lewis.
tie now without the shirt, right?
Yeah,
With Butch Lewis.
yeah. Oh boy, look at that boy. He's got a lot of folks to hug, man.
Oh, for sure.
Going up in them.
Oh, and you know what? They're gonna have draft parties tonight. A lot of these
Oh
kids,
man, New
oh, they
York
gonna
gonna be
party
off
the
the
night
rails,
away. I
man.
think, what time is it in
Yeah,
New York right now? You're looking
it's
at
just it's 9:45. I mean,
It's
they got a
9:45.
long
I
time.
can promise you
Yeah,
they have special parties or dinners waiting on these players and their families and their friends. They're gonna be having the
well, they
time of their
probably
life.
already had parties before then. This probably jumped off last night. Those
Exactly.
parties probably started last night.
It looks like this suit is a special tailored suit that he's got on too,
Yeah,
specially cut for him. You know.
yeah, yeah. Beautiful,
So we
man.
have one more draft pick to go, and then we'll make some closing statements on today, because I
Yeah,
mean, we
yeah, I'm
basically
hoping.
have had a really fruitful time talking about these young men and these young multimillionaires
Mhm.
now. You might as well add
yeah,
multimillionaire to their titles now, right? You got
yeah,
18,
yeah,
19, 20 year olds that's they got more money than they can shake a stick at, as the old people used to say, you know?
yeah. Yeah, I was hoping Najee could have called in and chime in on some of this stuff too. Yeah.
You
Wow,
know, the
man.
thing I'm thinking about maybe in the next 24 hours doing a recap and I'll find out whether Najee can attend with us
we
doing a,
can do that.
you know,
We really can
the
do that. Yeah.
takeaways on what's going on today
Yeah.
because I know Najee knows pretty much about all of these players and a lot of their backgrounds and stuff. Carter, his name is Carter Bryant. You know, Arizona has had a historical program as well. Their coach back in the 80s, Lute Olson, he was a super damn
Yeah.
good coach, and a lot of good players came out of Arizona, including Steve Kerr. I mean, think about that. He's an Arizona alumni.
Yes, man. That dude went up there and got that thing tailored down.
Oh, that's a nice too.
He surely got that tailored down.
Yeah, it's cut right down to the T.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Kerr was quite a player when he played at Arizona. He was one of the best guards in the West, which was the Pac-10
So,
back then.
so who's up now? OKC's up
So it
again.
looks like OKC is up at number 15, and I want to say they gained this spot from trades
That
because
trade, yeah.
yeah, because
I
OKC shouldn't
also
be
thought
picking
that
this
was
high at this level,
not that high, not
and
that
they
high
just
at
won
all,
the
bro.
NBA
They had to have.
championship. They ain't nowhere rhyme
Yes,
or
yes,
reason.
yeah. Well, that's how they build their team, though. DC, we discussed
Yeah,
this last week.
yeah,
How they did a lot of willing and dealing to trade for these young players,
and it's
and
pivotal,
now they still
you
getting
know.
draft picks from it.
Yeah, and it's pivotal as well.
Well, I think the organization had a really beautiful strategic plan to see how they can bring all these enormous young players in all at the same time and get them to jail so early and for
Hmm.
them to play that hard because they got a great coach. And that was the reason why they won. I mean, I watched them play throughout the year, and very seldom until they played this last game, where if they were up 15, 20 points, you wasn't coming back, man. You were not coming back.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
that's why they won the championship because when they have you down, they had the fortitude to keep you there. You know, some
Exactly.
teams would start relaxing and next thing you know, you hit a couple three in a row and then you have a couple block shots and then some stops and then you go back down the court and hit another three and that 12 point will diminish quickly. But OKC have a tendency of not letting you come back in the game like that, man.
But you know what?
And
You
they got
made a
all these
very
young players.
valid point, Isaiah. Just when we spoke a few days ago about it would have really been nice to see Tyrese Halliburton not get injured and play throughout the whole game.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not taking anything away from OKC because you predicted the win, so you definitely deserve a lot of credit as well as Najee. I predicted that Indiana was going to take game 7 and it didn't work out. But since Tyrese Halliburton was injured, it just leaves a lot of question marks to me personally. I don't
yeah,
know about other people, but what could have been? Because I met some
yeah,
folks today and they said the same thing. It was just a little bit sad that Halliburton was injured because if he would have actually survived and was able to play the entire game, who knows what could have happened? You know,
yeah.
because Oklahoma City took control of the game.
Yeah,
And
I always felt like that, DC. I always felt like if I was playing you, I want to beat you at full strength. I don't want to
absolutely,
beat you when you got
absolutely,
half of your players injured. I don't want to
Absolutely.
beat you when somebody hurt. I want to beat you when you got everybody in there. You got all because it don't show, it don't prove whether you was that good or not because you
Exactly.
beat them when their best player was out. And
Absolutely.
you talking about a matter of 10 to 12 to 8 points.
Mm-hmm.
Halliburton could have made points up. I've seen him do it. I've
Absolutely.
seen him come back. I've
Absolutely.
seen him hit those,
They did it.
three
They
in a
did
row.
it the entire NBA playoff. I
Yes,
mean, they basically
yes,
just was up against it, and they were able to overcome all different types of adversity and obstacles, and they
yeah,
beat several good teams on their way there. They beat Cleveland, and then they turned around and beat New York. I mean, come on. I mean, you can't ask for a better
yeah. And I
situation than
always
that.
said, if they're gonna win a championship, it goes through Halliburton. When Halliburton went down, I said they have no chance
It's the
because
buck starts and
the
stops
whole
with
team
Tyrese
feed off of
Halliburton.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, the whole team feeds off him, and then he
exactly.
goes down, and there it is. That was the end of him.
Exactly. But you know what? In hindsight, you just can't predict what may happen. It looks like OKC's pick is in.
Yeah, they were just showing segments of their parade
Thomas
and their party and stuff.
Sorber, Georgetown.
Well, we hadn't heard that in a while. With Georgetown
Yeah,
had
I
players
haven't heard
being picked,
any
but they
players
seem like
being,
they fell off
coming
the
out of
map, man.
Georgetown. And he's a
Yeah,
center too.
Georgetown. Yep.
He's a center.
So he's the only second. He's the only one, the second center to get picked so far.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I think Patrick Ewing was Patrick
Thomas
Ewing was
Sorber.
Sorber. Yes.
Wow, man, this is gonna be an interesting season coming up with all these young players coming in there, and especially when you watch them in college and see how they materialize to go and play in the NBA. This is an
Absolutely.
emotional night for these kids, man. Because, bro, your life is getting ready to dramatically change.
Oh,
Whatever financial situation you was in,
oh
it's
yeah.
gone.
Yep.
It's gone, man. If your
Well, the
grandma was living in a hut, she ain't got to live like that no more. If your mom needed a new car, she don't need it anymore. Yep. If your little brother trying to go to college, you can pay for it. Yes. Or your sister, you can
he,
pay for it now, man.
and I mean, think about it. He's been picked by the champions, the NBA champions.
Yeah.
So who's to say
Yeah.
that
You
Oklahoma
imagine that
City,
the
OKC
plug just
might
got right
repeat?
in.
They could possibly
Yeah.
repeat. I mean, with the talent level that they have.
Everything, they're so young. That's what we
Absolutely.
people don't understand. Their team is super young. So they could
Absolutely.
have a dynasty right there in the making. They could have a dynasty in the making because the team is so young. And the thing is, all of them are under decent contracts where you
Hmm.
just you're not gonna break the team apart, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it looks like Thomas Sorber. He averaged 15 points a game, 9 rebounds, about
Oh
three
man,
assists a game, and he was a
they
53% field goal shooter. I mean, think about that.
man, they showing highlights and he's slapping balls in the
Oh
stands,
yeah,
man. He's a good shot blocker as well.
the Georgetown Warriors. Man, can you remember those times with Georgetown with those great teams that Georgetown
Yes,
had back in the day?
yes. Yes. When Ewing and Mourning and all those
Oh,
guys was there, yes, I do remember.
yeah. It's insane the type of teams that Georgetown had back in that time. It's just amazing
Yeah,
to
because they was reloading every year. They had a great coach. They was reloading every year with Thompson
it was
there.
like three teams in the Big East back then were super dominant.
Yeah.
Georgetown was one of them. Then you had St.
hmm
John's,
North
which is Mark
Carolina. North
Jackson's,
Carolina too.
and North
North
Carolina. Well,
Carolina.
North Carolina was
Yeah.
in the ACC, but they were on the East Coast
I'm
too.
just talking
Yeah.
about the teams that was good in that
Oh
era.
yeah,
In that era.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you look at St. John, some of those games, and then you look at Villanova, with Raleigh Massimino, and
Yeah.
Syracuse, the Syracuse teams that played, they had some hell of a teams in the Big East back then, man. And for this kid to come along and play now, and follow in such a traditional footstep of a school like Georgetown, which basketball was everything at Georgetown. I don't
Oh
even think
yeah,
they had a
yes.
football team back then.
I've never heard of anything football wise over
No,
there, but
they
the
don't. I don't think
basketball
they have a
team
football
carried
team. It
everything.
was just all
Yeah,
basketball.
it carried everything. The basketball team carried everything. The, usually a football team carry all the other sports, but with Georgetown, their basketball team did it all. 'Cause I know a lot of these schools are banking on their football team doing well because it takes care of all the other athletics with
Yep,
swimming and golf and badminton and everything else.
that's
The
right.
football team carries it all.
So here is some of the notable names from Georgetown: Patrick Ewing. Need I say more? Alonzo Mourning. Need I say more?
Yep.
Allen Iverson. Need I say more?
Yep.
And other notable players, Reggie Williams. I don't know whether you remember Reggie Williams. He was a guard. And then they had Eric Sleepy
Um,
Floyd. You remember Sleepy Floyd,
I know
right?
Sleepy Floyd. Yeah, the droopy
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
And then they had Dikembe Mutombo. He played
Yep.
for Georgetown.
Yeah.
And
Who since passed away.
they had some damn good players back. David Wingate. I remember David Wingate. He was a damn good player as well. So yeah, man, it's just been amazing this draft up until this point. Um, we just witnessed history tonight, Isaiah. We
Yeah,
we
of course.
witnessed true history and a tradition of young men following in the footsteps of the NBA that's been around for 80 years, you know,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it just keeps getting better and better and better, and we're gonna follow it, and we're gonna be in depth with it. We're gonna be sitting at some of these games. I'm looking forward to it, and we're gonna be doing a lot of big things coming up into the next season for the NBA because we're
Yeah.
rolling into football season now, which is
Yeah.
summer camps open next month. And by the way,
Yeah.
I just learned that the Rams is going to be actually training at Loyola Marymount University, which is over in Marina Del
Mhm.
Rey. So that's not far at all. So I'll be over there covering the Rams. And I know you're going to cover the Dolphins since you don't live far
Yeah.
from where their training facility is.
Yeah.
And
We're doing
Najee's
the
going to be
Dolphins
covering
in Jacksonville. We're
in
gonna do
Jacksonville,
Jacksonville and
of
also in Tampa. Yeah.
and Tampa. Exactly. So we have a
Hmm.
lot of really good things in store for our viewers and our fans, and we're ecstatic about it. We just want you to keep grinding with us because we're grinding it out, and we're gonna grind it all the way to the top. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing a recap on this, and Najee will more than likely be joining us for that. So
Yeah.
we'll be covering a lot of what we talked about today, some of the players, how they
Yeah.
fit in to certain schemes with these teams and everything. And we appreciate everything from you, the viewer. Thank you for joining us. I'll have Isaiah close it out for us, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, man, this was a beautiful night, man. I enjoyed so much to watch these little kids become millionaires, man, because I can recall when I was young and played sports and to see these kids start out when they were 6 or 7 years old because they showed so many clippings when these little kids first started bouncing a ball, just learning how to bounce the ball and handle the ball, and all of a sudden now they're in the NBA. So, and the beautiful part of it, they are able to take care of their families. That's the most gratifying part about it to me. When you can take care of your family, support yourself, and do the right thing and be a good model citizens. You don't get any better than that. But covering this stuff is like been a lifelong dream of me and DC. We've been friends since we were like 4 years old, and now we're working together doing something that we absolutely love. We got Najee involved, which is out tonight, but we're gonna be over in Tampa and Jacksonville. Partnering up, doing some stuff over there with the Jaguars and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But you guys continue to watch us, man. We loving what we're doing. We're traveling and having a good time at it. So tell your friends, your family members, your work colleagues that we're on the DC Stewart Podcast featuring Isaiah and Najee. And you guys have a pleasant, safe weekend. So take care of your family and friends.
Absolutely. And follow us on our other social media. I mean, we have a lot of good content on all of our social media. If you want to visit us at our website, that's www.dcstewartpodcast.com. You can always see our content over there. We have an Instagram where we have tons of content over there. We have Facebook, and we're expanding out. I mean, we're looking to expand to some other social media platforms, and that's in the plan. And just make sure you comment and let us know how things are going. We want to hear from you. So comment, hit that like button, and we'll do it again very soon. So take care of yourself first before you can take care of anybody else. Because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of anybody else? And once you take care of yourself, you're going to be able to help other people. And that's the key right there. So take care, be safe, and we'll see you again soon. Take it easy.